Okay, so let's take a look at Scratch. So in this video, I'll just give you a little bit of an introduction, show you how to get started, and talk about some of the important things with it. If you've used Scratch before and you already have an account, I'll just say that right now. Make sure that you verified your email address so that you can use the share button. If you don't know what I'm talking about, that's fine. But if you have a Scratch account, then you probably already know what I'm talking about. Just verify your email so that you can use share. That's the way that I'll see the assignments. And we'll go over that in a second for everybody else. And there, out of our course, there'll probably be 3 or 4 people that have already used this before. So the rest of you don't feel like, oh man, I've never used this, I'm in trouble. No, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. Okay, so Scratch. Let's talk about it. We're gonna go to this website, and this is the site right here, scratch.mit.edu. And when we go to that site, I mean, obviously you see the .mit in here. So this is has been developed by MIT, well, with lots of partners like Google, over the years, and it's actually been around for quite a long time. As far as technology and tools that we can use, this is a great thing. So Scratch is used. It's a block coding piece, and I'll show you that in a minute. It's used by students all over the world, and at any time you'll see they have all sorts of people using this thing from all over the countries. Now you'll get lots of different ages, so you could end up having a second grader using this, or we're going to use this. It doesn't really matter. There are all sorts of things you can do with it, and the idea is we're going to use this as a learning platform, and we're going to do this for a couple of weeks to sort of lead us into Python. All right, so let's take a look at this. Oh, by the way, let's talk about using Google Chrome. All right, so I'll say this again. Uh, we want to use Google Chrome whenever we're using this course. Okay, so when you're logging in here, if you have a Mac, don't use Safari. All right, so I'll have students that will say, "Well, I didn't have any issues the whole semester." Great, but I'm just telling you, minimize the risk. Use Google Chrome. In fact, I'm gonna show you something. Hang on a second. I'm gonna pause this baby and come right back. Okay, so here I am back. I pulled up a picture here. I took this with my cell phone, so don't hate on the quality. But this is a shot of the Google Cambridge building in Cambridge, Massachusetts. It's in Kendall Square. This is the Google building right across the street from the MIT campus. So it's sort of, I mean, people would say this is on the MIT campus, but sort of. So like the biggest bookstore, at MIT is in this building over here to the right hand side. So, but anyway, this was actually a nice little nightlight. I took this from my room. And this is, I don't know, we have like the Google, I guess coming through at night, so it's a nice little nightlight. But I'm showing you this because you can imagine they have a building that's essentially on the campus. I mean, it's just off across the street, but they have a lot of input into things. They do a lot of development. They've done a lot of design work, writing. Their Google teams have been involved in using Scratch and developing Scratch from the beginning. So I'm showing this picture just to reiterate: use Google Chrome. All right. So I'll tell you that the errors that I get, and close this out, the errors that I get messages about with people a lot of times are because they're using, I don't know, Internet Explorer or Edge or whatever it might be, or something different, and Google Chrome solves the issue. So I'll that's it on Google Chrome. I'll stop. But anyway, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to scratch.mit.edu. Now this is all free. You're going to set up an account, but it's all free. So when you click on that link, you are going to come to this page, and you'll see some simple buttons across the top. The thing that you're going to do is go ahead and click on Join Scratch. And when you click on that, it's going to bring up this little piece. You need to create a username and a password, and they ask you a few little simple questions. One thing is your email. In order for me to see your assignments, it does cloud save. So everything is saved in the cloud. You can access it from anywhere. You can use it with an iPad or whatever. It doesn't, as long as you're using Google Chrome, remember. But you can go ahead and use this with pretty much anything. Mess around with this, play with it, and it will cloud save. But what you're going to have to do for me to see the assignments is use a button that says share. The only way that you can use the share button in order to activate it is to verify your email address. So please, when you're putting in an email address on the next screen, make sure you put in an email address so you can check. If you don't want to give out your email address, make a new one on Gmail and put that in there. But you need to be able to check it, so you can click a button that says verify and go from there. Now MIT doesn't send you a bunch of junk. They're pretty good about that. Every once in a while you might get something, but you can opt out of that anyway if you'd like. All right, so anyway, you're going to create an account. When you log in, you'll end up over here. So this is my account. I have a teacher account. It really means nothing other than I can make a group of students called my classes, and we're not even going to use that. So my account is essentially the same as any other account that you sign up. Not really that big a deal. So anyway, so we've got these buttons that go across the top, and we'll play with these. So the biggest thing that you're going to do is use this button right here. So create. That's our most important button right there. And we're going to come into this window. Now, I tend to talk fast, so I know you're not familiar with me yet, but I tend to talk fast. Remember, this is a video, so you can pause and go back. All right, so anyway, I'll just say that now. So if you're like, man, slow down, I try, but I get too excited and then I talk too fast. But remember, you can always pause it, go back, watch again, whatever. All right, so let's talk about the interface that we have here. And in this interface, we have a little menu across the top. So we have little buttons up across here that will, we can pull up file and do all this kind of good stuff. Oh, look at my share button. Look how nice that is and active, and I can use it. All right, so make sure you verify your email address. So anyway, so I have that. But let's talk about this interface in here. So we have a few things that we need to talk about. You'll see these tabs across the top. So we have code, costumes, and sounds. Those are the ones that we have here. Okay, so and that's great. We'll talk about the code in a second. Down here we have a little thing called a sprite, and you can see this is called Sprite One because that's all it is. You can change the name if you'd like, and it's just this cat right here. And you can see this little. It's kind of faded out right here, right? So we have that nice little faded cat right here. This is the code that will go with this cat. So if I put this in here, drag this block in here, so all I do is click on it and drag it over. You notice it looks like a puzzle piece. We'll talk about that here in a second. So I have my puzzle piece that I've pulled in here. So this is block coding. So we have blocks that we put together, and that it's going to be very easy for us to write code that we can apply to right now this cat or this sprite that we're using. Okay, so just as a little piece, here's our little execute window. We have a little green flag for go, and then we have a little red stop sign. You can make it bigger if you'd like, so we could click on full screen and it would make it bigger. So if you were actually, wanting to play a game or something that you've designed, you can do that. It takes up the whole screen. It's kind of nice. We have backdrops over here that we could throw in, and so we have this little stage piece. So let's say we wanted to put a backdrop here. All right, I'm going to come in here and I'm like, well, I want to throw something in here. So if you come over here where it says, notice it says choose a backdrop, and there are different options. I can click on this little search. Great, right? And then I have paint if I wanted to draw one. Surprise just puts a random one in there, or I can upload one. For now, what we're going to do is we're just going to use choose a backdrop. And when you pop in here, you see you have different categories you can choose from. Or you can do a search and you can type something in here and search for it. I'm just gonna like randomly scroll around until I come to, I don't know, eeny, meeny, miny, this one. Well, that can almost look like I planned that, so I'm gonna pick something else because it actually was pretty cool. Let's use this little heart one. Look at that. Oh, look at this cat right here. That's so nice, so nice. Okay, so here we have our cat and our little sprite here. Now, we talk about costumes, this little piece over here, this little tab right here, some of the sprites will have multiple costumes. So there are two here. So we can get, if you imagine clicking back and forth, this gives us a little way to do some animation. So imagine if this was going quickly, we would see this moving, okay? So you can do all sorts of things in here. You can color and do all that. We don't really care about that right now. We're trying to stick with the basics. So I have this sprite. I'm going to put them right here in the middle of the heart. And now my heart is right here. Here's my little backdrop. And I want to go ahead. If we wanted to add another sprite, we could do that. Come down here into the sprite one. I can do the same thing. So choose. And I can have this in here. So maybe I'm going to put bananas in for the cat to go get or whatever. All right, so we have that little piece. Okay, so let's talk basics with coding things. Oh, this is a good thing now. So notice how this is faded out again. And we've got the little bananas here because this is the active window. So there's bananas. Great. But I want to click back to the cat. Boom, there we go. So notice how the cat is right here. So any code that I drop in, notice when I was on bananas, that code was missing. So you have to make sure that you're on the right sprite as you're doing your code. So I have this little turn 15 degrees, and I don't know, and you can change these numbers. So maybe I'm going to say turn 45 degrees and make it a bigger number. Okay, so great, I've got that in there. If you hit the go button, it does nothing. All right, so we've got the little green flag, it does nothing because we have to put uh, a little event qualifier in here to tell it what to do. Okay, so right now it just has this code sitting out as random. Okay, so you'll notice over here there are lots of different pieces of code and they are color coded. So we have motion, we have looks. If you just scroll down, it'll go through all of them too, or you can click on them. But I'm going to click on events, and you'll see for this one, many of your programs you'll do this. You'll take this block. Again, I'm clicking and dragging, and I'm going to put it over here, and I'm going to stop. Okay. Again, if I click on it, it does nothing. There's nothing attached to it. But if you take this piece and you scroll up here, notice how it brings in that little gray piece. If I let go, it will snap in place. Okay, so now this is a completed block. We can have an opening before, that's just fine. Now when I click this green flag, look at the little kitty go. So every time I click it, it is going to turn 45 degrees. Okay, and we can do other things here too. So we can have it, I'm going to click on looks and just, I don't know, I could do anything here. Change the color effect. So I'm going to drag this one in here. So change the color effect by 25. Or if you click on these little drop down arrows, we can do some other things. I don't even know. Let's just play around with it. Why not? Let's see what this does. Oh, okay, so mosaic effect. All right, all right. So every time I click it, there we go. We're turning and we have our little mosaic effect. Okay, so I'm gonna change this back to color. And you'll see him changing that way too. So anyway, so you have lots of different things for you to play with. So that's what you're going to be doing this week. All right, I don't want to talk too much about this stuff, but because this will turn into a super long video, but I just kind of want to get you started. So how will you get started? All right, here's a very important piece for you. Uh, Back in Canvas, you'll see there are a couple things, and I'll show you this in just a minute. But animate your name card. So this is a little PDF that was created by the Scratch team, and these are made to be cards. So to print them out, fold them in half, glue them together. You can see little instructions here. And what it does is it goes through and it'll say, give you something to try. And then you'll see on the, behind it, it tells you exactly what to do and what, which different things to put there as far as the code, right? So, you'll be able to play with this. This is one way, but I think this is kind of nice. This is sort of a newer thing that they've done. I'm going to click back over here. And you notice this button up here that says tutorials. If you click on that, there are all sorts of tutorials, including the animate your name one. So if you click on this, it brings up a video. You can play the video. It has sound. It'll do closed captioning, all that kind of good stuff, and it walks through and tells you kind of what you're going to do. So and you can go back and forth, and it'll help tell you like which buttons to click, how to find all these little things, where to drag them, all that kind of good stuff. So this is a very useful little tool that you can use. I'm going to go and close it down, and there are a bunch of other ones in here too. Okay, so I would say start with animate a name, and you can, if you need to, you can refer to this too, this little piece that's in Canvas. This one's a little bit older, but now that it's integrated in here, it's really, really nice. And I love these little videos that they do just to show you little animations as you can set stuff up in here. Okay, so there's lots of things that you'll sort of learn just by playing around. So I would say have fun with this, and you're gonna play around. Okay, so that's the first one, the little animate your name. And then you'll see one called catch cards. And the catch cards one is a little bit more detailed, has a little bit more of the code in it, and it kind of shows you what you're going to do. In fact, let me go ahead and pull that up. Okay, so here is an example of a finished catch game. And don't worry about this code right now. I actually have this in Canvas for you too. It's a little bit easier to read in there too. But anyway, we have. Oh, speaking of that, if your code is too small and you're like, man, that's so small, there are these little plus and minuses over here, so you can make them a little bit bigger and then just move things around this way. So that's available to you too. So there's little options in here. But how do I get to this? So you're working on something, you want to save something. This is where you name it up here. And then to get to your stuff, and it's literally called My Stuff, you go to your login name. Once you've logged in, you go to My Stuff. And then I'm going to go down to where we have this little catch game. I can click on it. You'll have a stuff in there too. And then to actually get this, besides just the game, you can go to see inside, and it goes back to the code. Okay, so how does this work? What is this game? It's just a really simple little catch game where apples drop out of the sky and you're supposed to catch them in the bowl or whatever you want to do. It doesn't really matter. Right now, I don't think there's any kind of it's keeping score. The green are worth more because it's on a random, piece. You see the reds are just falling at a certain one, and there's no penalty, so you could set up a penalty to where when it touch this, you get so many lives or whatever. But there's no penalty in this little example. But anyway, so it's kind of fun. I think you guys will play with it. As you're doing these, don't hesitate to use your own sprites. So you don't necessarily have to use a bowl and an apple. Play with some other things. Use a donut or I don't know, whatever you want to do for catching it. Change the background. You saw earlier how to do that. So I'm at 15 minutes. So I want to end this, but hopefully this gives you a little something to play with. I would say to get familiar with it, definitely go to tutorials. Start with this, animate your name, kind of follow along the little instructions here, and then maybe even do another one here that you think might be kind of fun if you want to play with it. Don't do the Pong one. We're going to do something similar to that later, so don't do that. But there's all sorts of other things that you can do to play around in here. The glide one might be kind of fun for you with the bat. That one's kind of cool. But anyway, so I would say definitely do this one. Maybe pick one more just to be able to play with, get yourself familiar with it, and then work on these two games. And this week is all about you just playing with this, okay? So getting the idea of how this works, uh, you know, understanding the interface, making the game do what you want to do, all that kind of good stuff, okay? So just dive in and play with it. Don't be surprised if you sit here and then all of a sudden 2 hours have gone by and you're still playing around with stuff, because it's sort of addicting. I know I'm a big nerd, but it is addicting. You'll see, and you'll look at stuff and you go, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that, and I'm gonna hit stop because that's gonna drive me crazy. But anyway, so this is something for you to mess around with. Next week, you will have two assignments to do in Scratch. So that's why you need to get familiar with it this week. But next week you'll have two assignments to do. You're going to do both of them and turn them in for points at the end of the week. Okay, so you're getting familiar with it this week. Also, this is free. This doesn't have anything to do with getting your Python book or any of that kind of stuff. So it's something great for us to start with. All right. So if you have questions about this, have any issues, getting your account set up, anything like that, it's pretty straightforward. But if you do have any issues with it, send me a message. In fact, I'm going to put a little like a peer help forum in here too. I didn't do that yet, but I'll add that kind of right here. And if you have questions, post. I'll make it a little discussion forum for everyone. And that way, if questions pop up or little things you want to share in there, go ahead and do it as it's related to Scratch. And if you see a question pop up in there and you have you know how to answer it, go ahead and do that because I'm not online all the time, and a lot of times I'll see a question on the peer forums and someone sends a message at 2 a.m. and there are a couple other people up and they answer the question and I get up the next morning and everyone's good. So that's kind of nice. So anyway, so if you can help each other, great. So I'm going to add that little peer forum in here now by the time you're done watching this video. So anyway, I apologize for the length of the video, but I really needed to show you this. If we were in the labs, we'd be doing all of this together. We have an interactive presentation and I have you messing around with it along the way, but for the online class, you're sort of stuck kind of playing around with it yourself. So, which is still fun. So have fun with it, and let me know if you have quite any questions.